weighing in Fights and Films.
Hi, welcome to Weighing In Fights and Films. I am Brett the Threat. I am not joined with my cousin and co-host, but instead with Milda the Writer Harris. And we just saw The Mummy with Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, who else?
Annabelle Wallis and Sophia Botella.
And this movie is about a unscrupulous treasure hunter. He works for, I think he's a soldier in the American Army.
So it seems like, at least.
They said he was like a deep scout or something like that. But in truth, he's a treasure hunter just waiting to loot. So he's like a bad version of Indiana Jones.
He's out for the money.
He's out for the money. Gosh darn it. He actually uncovers the sarcophagus of a deadly mummy.
And then chaos ensues.
And then, of course, the old taking over the world bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this movie, Milda?
I went into it with an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
And, it went into ridiculousness. I enjoyed the original Mummy. I mean, I didn't think it was
with Brendan Fraser?
Brendan Fraser. I didn't think it was great, but I enjoyed it. This one sort of went into strange territory, and yeah, in the middle I was sort of like, what are we watching? Brett here was laughing.
This movie sucked. It sucked. There's three worst movies of this year. 50 Shades is that romance bad movie. The worst comedy of the year is the Amy Schumer movie. And the worst action movie of the year is The Mummy. This movie fucking sucked. I hated this movie. I hated the directing, the editing I absolutely hated because the pace was so fast that you really couldn't latch on to anything. You know, they're doing that purposely to make everything move so fast to get to the stuff that's any bit of interesting. But they took no time to develop any of the characters. You just kind of like you had to roll with everything. It was just terrible.
Yeah, I really didn't like the opening where Russell Crowe sort of told you about the princess. I feel like that
the voiceover.
And that's at the very beginning. Like, he just tells you about the princess and what happened. But I feel like that's something you should learn as they go through the movie.
Yeah,
like, it's a mystery.
Let you discover it.
So that sort of put me off immediately. And I was like, well, we already know about her. And then they're about to discover her. I don't know, it just sort of lost something for me there.
Yeah, so they discover this stupid sarcophagus, and then she immediately chooses Tom Cruise to be her like sacrificial lamb or fucking whatever. And it's so inane, this whole thing, and like they're brought back to Russell Crowe's like laboratory. And
would be a spoiler potentially?
Well, let's not be a spoiler, but it's like his character is Dr. Jekyll.
It is a spoiler.
It's fucking but
I know, but I agree.
You look it up on the IMDb, it'll say Dr. Jekyll is his character, and of course ridiculous. He turns into Mr. Hyde. Of course, it's so bad. There's so many things that are just so fucking awful.
For me, that was the like end point. I was sort of like, what's Dr. Jekyll doing in this movie? Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde just doesn't make sense. I don't know. I just really didn't expect it.
They're trying to build their own lore of this movie, and they're setting up for part 2 and all that fucking bullshit.
Yeah. What I understand, gods and monsters and all that, but it just sort of like threw me completely because
as soon as he named his I am Dr. Jekyll. I'm Mr. Jekyll, but I'm also a doctor, and you're just like, oh, he's Dr. Jekyll. Okay. And then there's a knife involved, and you got to have a secret crystal with the knife, and it's just so who cares? Who cares? I left to go to the bathroom for like, I took my time because this movie is so bad. I'm just like, I'm not going to miss anything. I leave and I come back and you were just like, I'm like, okay, what happened? And she's just like, well, it took him like 20 minutes for the mummy to finally escape, and then more death and destruction and like taking over the world bullshit happens.
And Dr.
Jekyll Dr. Jekyll turned into Mr. Hyde while I was in the bathroom, and I didn't give a fuck. If you weren't with me, I would have walked out of this movie and got my money back in the first 20 minutes. This is terrible.
Note that all 3 of his worst movies this year he saw with me.
That's so bad. That's awful. We should go see Wonder Woman again. That just
shows you how much you love me.
Yes. How do you weigh in on this movie?
I would weigh in with 1 punch.
1 punch. Me too. If I could go worse than 1 punch, I would. Do not see this movie. This is terrible.
Well, what about the action though? You didn't talk about that. What about the action scenes?
The action was crap. I like what they showed in the trailer was with like the plane crash. Mm-hmm. That was the only good part in this whole freaking movie, but everything else, the editing was just so fast. It was just, they're trying to cut to everything. I can't explain why. I need to go into a more in-depth view and give a spoiler review as to how bad the editing is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
and I can't do it with a non-spoiler movie, but it's like everything else is like they're driving it with the music. They're trying to make it like a horror movie with like birds are supposed to fly into the scene, and like the music goes and it's supposed to like make you jump. Nobody jumped in the theater. I was watching other people, other patrons, and I was just like, no, none of none of the moments in the movie that were supposed to make you scared and jump out of your seat did it. Everything failed. Everything in this movie failed.
I think that pretty much says it.
I hated this movie. Hated it. Absolutely hated it.
And I, who usually give some sort of a, well, maybe, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, fuck this movie. Go see Wonder Woman. That's how we weigh in on this movie. It sucked. Don't forget to support. You skip it. Support my cousin's MMA fight career. We'll put a link below for like her merchandise and stuff like that. And tell them to like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe.